So, gentlemen, thank you guys for coming. I know it was like a short little thing.
Yeah. Hey, no problem. I enjoy it.
Perfect. So, yeah, this is my podcast, Thoughts on Our Podcast. Basically, just getting with different individuals and talk about random shit, basically. The name Socks on Our Podcast just came to me. It's basically a question: would you have sex with your socks on or off? And it might seem like a simple question, but depending on who you ask, you will get a lot of different answers and a lot of different theories. So I just thought this would be a great opportunity to have a question as a podcast, more like an icebreaker thing. We don't have to get into that right now, but that would be a good question if you guys want to ponder that. But first, if you just want to introduce yourselves, yeah, we'll go from there.
All right. I'm Spencer Mills. A lot of people know me as Chef Mills. I was a culinary instructor and program director at a culinary school that these two young gentlemen went to. I was born and raised in small town Oklahoma. I've got some hippie parents, and I've lived a pretty interesting life.
Perfect.
That's a pretty good one. I don't know if I can back that up. My name is Jarrell Mclntye. Started my culinary career about 7 or 8 years ago, learning from this gentleman and working with this gentleman. Pretty much still just doing the same thing, cooking, doing some personal caterings and stuff like that. So still trying to learn the craft.
Pretty lit. Yeah, so Chef, as a young child, when did you decide that culinary was a opportunity that you wanted to pursue?
Before I answer that, it can be Spencer, man. That's
Okay.
cool too.
All right.
Whatever. I know it's a respect thing. That's cool, but I don't want you to feel like you have to stand on circumstance or anything, right?
I feel you.
Well, actually, my food career started when I was really young. My mother was a military brat, so she got to travel all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we were poor and living out on a farm, she was cooking crazy stuff all the time. Like in the 80s, it was nothing for us to have like wok night. Like she'd hook up some stir fry and an actual wok every once in a while.
That's really lit.
She's always done non-traditional meals around holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So like sometimes it'll be Italian. We might do all Italian food for Christmas or whatever. We might do all Mexican food for Thanksgiving.
Right.
So I was exposed to a ton of different food. And I've just always enjoyed cooking it and eating it. Obviously, you can look at me and tell that.
Man, you lost a lot of weight. I was
I
very
appreciate it.
very surprised. I was like, shit.
Being poor will do that shit to you.
Yeah, you do. I still find a way to indulge, but I understand. I actually lost like 26 pounds since I've been working out. Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah, oh shit.
Are you still charting your journey? I know I see some posts on there every now and again.
Yeah, kind of. I was going to the doctors for like respiratory or whatever, so I was monitoring it that way, but I'm feeling better, so I haven't been back to get it checked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's dope. Being in the military, Brian, did you live anywhere exciting, like overseas, or?
Well, it was my parents and their siblings who actually traveled all around. Like
Gotcha.
My aunt was born in Germany. My brother was born in Virginia. My mom was born in San Antonio. My uncle was born in Washington State. So they've been all over.
Right.
I lived with my grandparents for 6 to 8 years, somewhere like that, but they had already retired. So I didn't get to do a lot of the traveling. I mean, they took me to some places, and I've been some places since. But as far as my childhood, no, that was just kind of seeing all the photos and all the different stuff, and kind of hearing all the stories. You know, it's very exciting. Like hearing my grandma talking about in the 50s and 60s eating at these insect bars and whatnot over in the Far East. You know,
wow,
that's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that food can travel. It can take you everywhere. You know, I mean, even though we speak different languages, that is the most common thing amongst us. So with your mom being the sole cooker, what was one of her dishes that you just enjoyed as a kid?
Well, you know, I've always liked her lasagna. You know, that's one of the things that I really appreciate. But, you know, it wasn't like I ever had one specific thing. The only real food item that I've had like every year of my life that's kind of an expected thing is German chocolate cake, as random as that sounds. But everything else, I'm pretty open to new ideas. I've eaten some crazy stuff and crazy animal parts, crazy types of animals, all kinds of stuff. So I'm not really one of those people who has like a lane and that's all I do. I mean, I love pasta of any type, but I also know that that's how I get fat too, is by sitting around eating pasta and bread all the time. So
No, I feel you.
Is
So
there
Jarrell,
anything weird you eat now, like that you want to cook all the time?
no, I mean, couple months ago, I went through like a little bit of a dessert kick, so I was messing around with some brownies and some different stuff like that. Every once in a while, at the house, I'll go, above and beyond and kind of, even if it's just like some chicken breast or something, maybe I'm making chicken marsala old school, like really, it is funny because sometimes I'm cooking chicken breast for two and I'm $50 in the damn thing just because I want to be fancy.
shit, like especially during culinary school and a little bit after. That's how I was. I was like, man, we were getting food stamps at the time, and I would go through like $75, $80 worth of food stamps just for that meal. And I was like, you know what? I just need to humble myself. I'm already poor. So yeah, Jarrell, same question to you. Where did your culinary career start? But first, before you answer that, is this green light on?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just didn't want to go through the whole thing. We didn't hear shit. So yeah, same question to you, man.
Where it started, to be honest, started at, I don't know if we can say brand names, but JJ's.
Yeah, I don't get sponsored by anybody.
Alright, well, I'm just saying.
They need to.
Then you never know. So I started out working at Jimmy John's, just a little sandwich shop, because I just needed money at the time.
Right.
Liked watching cooking shows and stuff growing up, but I never thought maybe this is something that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So started working at Jimmy John's, worked my way up, became an assistant manager. Didn't like the paperworky part.
Right.
I just wanted to do it and cook and do different things, but you're not doing really anything with baking bread and slicing veggies.
That's true.
So I went on to work at a deli, and then finally just started working at different restaurants. Worked at one restaurant, closed down. Now I'm working at this vegan food place.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's downtown. I work nights 2 to 10, and just figuring out different ways to make other food taste like something that's not, like
Right.
jackfruit, like chicken, stuff like that. Fake burgers made from juice pulp, stuff like that.
Really?
So basically, I'm just trying to take everything that I learn and cultivate it into something that I can do on my own.
Right.
Whenever that may be. But I'm trying to make steps to do that. So once I get there, the first step would be to get a food truck and do it easy like that. But I don't know about a restaurant.
Yeah, it's always a good time. So growing up, was your parents big cookers, or I mean, especially in the black community, we have like soul food, or a lot of people grew up on soul food, fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, all that stuff.
They were. My dad primarily liked to grill.
Mm-hmm.
So ribs, chicken, burgers, bratwurst. He loved grilling. Loved fried foods. My mom was usually the one that was cooking, doing like the macaroni and cheese and baked chicken and stuff like that, and doing all the desserts and stuff. So for my young life, I ate a lot worse than I do now, but I also miss all the flavor from it.
Right.
So it's like now I'm raising kids and I'm trying to feed them healthy, but I'm like, yeah, y'all should have this because I used to have this when I was a kid. It was bomb. Don't worry about your heart rate. You'll be okay.
Right, you're a kid. You'll breathe
it out. Okay.
My son runs 30 minutes a day just for fun.
Just for fun.
Yeah, I was like, why are you running?
I don't know.
He had no idea. He's just happy.
What's the name of this restaurant you ran out of business?
Yeah, man.
That I ran out of business? I'll tell you. It's right down the street. They were open for not even a year.
Oh.
Flying Burger and Seafood.
Oh, Flying Burger and Seafood. Wow.
Yes.
They tried to open one out in Catoosa as well. I don't know if
that one was open first.
Yeah, is that one still open out there?
No. All three of her restaurants have closed down.
Oh, yeah, there's a dispensary there now.
Yep. So I was working down at that one, Flying Burger and Seafood.
So was it one person, and it was like their little idea for just the Tulsa metro area? Or
no,
it's a national.
It's a franchise.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a national thing.
And so the lady that bought into it was like, they like it wherever she found it. So she was like, I'm gonna bring it here. And so she did. She opened up the Catoosa one first, and I guess business started dwindling, and then she opened the one on 71st, and that's where I got hired at. So I worked there just as mid-level, just to cook, you know, and I worked my way up, and she was like, in the first month, I like what you're doing. I want you to be an assistant manager. So I became the assistant manager and was doing that, but she didn't understand the know-how behind it because she changed her career from the medical field to do food. And so, I had been around for a little bit doing different jobs at different places cooking and stuff. So I don't know. It was just hard to tell her that, you need to do it this way. You're going to lose business because it's not being consistent. But she didn't want to hear that. She just felt like,
Yeah, it's super hard.
yeah,
It's one of those where, especially if she was successful in her previous business,
right.
Sometimes you get to those people where when they can walk outside their door and look around and say, I did all this shit myself, they don't listen to anyone.
Yeah.
It's great for making their own personal money. Because I'm sure she was smart too. I'm sure she had LLCs for all this shit, and none of her actual money got took by all this. But people think they can jump in the restaurant business, and I mean, the most seasoned restaurant people, it's still like a 90% fail rate. It's such a hard business.
Right. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about this vegan place. How did you hear about it, and is that what you would want to go into if you get the food truck, or is that just an experience that you can use for different side gigs?
My mother-in-law told me about it.
Okay.
She's a vegan. She doesn't eat meat, none of that stuff. And I didn't have a job at the time. And so, I just took whatever.
Of course.
So I went there. It's an okay place. It's real clean, real fresh, new experience because it's not a lot of, I guess, green life food,
Right.
like pure greens and stuff like that. So they do juices, they do food, they do smoothies, they do smoothie bowls, and I liked it because it didn't seem easy. It just seemed like I picked it up quickly. So I like a lot of the things that they do for substitution wise type stuff, no meats and stuff. But I would probably just use it as a part of my trade, but I wouldn't dive fully into it.
Right.
The amount of prep that it takes to go into it is staggering. It's good, but it's staggering.
Yeah, I think that's what really shied me away from restaurants was the prep. We would prep for 3, 4, 5 hours, and it's gone in an hour. Especially when I went to South Dakota, I was the saute person. Yo, that shit was crazy.
But it was an experience.
Yeah, it was nice. No, I mean, if I was the man I am now there, I think it would have worked out.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, just how I think unappreciated cooks are. Rather, if you're a beginning or if you're a chef, they just want it now. They want it perfectly, and it's like that's the shit I didn't appreciate. Especially with the chef. He went to what was it, the CIA school, whatever that was, and he just thought he was the bomb. And just having that arrogance and all that extra stuff kind of deterred me from pursuing that anymore. Would I go back into it? Probably. If there was a good opportunity, if there was like a food truck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so culinary school brought us all together. Spencer, where was your culinary school, if you ever went to one? Or
I went to Platt as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I went to Platt back in 2010. And I was actually in the third class that had attended the school. There had been 2 classes ahead of me. When my first day of school, the dining room that you guys know was just drywall. There was nothing in there. They hadn't painted it. They hadn't done anything. It was so new. But that also led to a lot of advantages because the original owner spent a lot of money to get that school where it was.
Right.
A lot of the equipment that you guys saw was the original equipment, and we got it all brand new. So I mean, even though it's all professional grade, nice stuff that was in there. It had 10 years on it before you guys even saw it. In the restaurant world, that stuff lasts 30 years or more, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, it was pretty awesome. I had some great opportunities because of the school. That's how I got hooked up with the Summit Club and started working there. So it was a pretty interesting experience. And then going full circle, coming back and being the program director at the school that I had attended, that was a pretty unique experience as well.
Did you ever go overseas to cook? Because did you learn pasta from overseas as well? Or?
Yeah, I actually, whenever I was working at the Summit Club, we had our general manager, Walter, knew a chef over there, and he flew her in to train with us for like a month.
Oh damn.
And so it was 7 days, and on your off days, you would just come in if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was there for 30 days straight. I mean, if I was working, I'd show up an hour early to learn from her. She was amazing. Her name is Chef Bertaco, Barbara Bertaco. So after she left, about a month later, she had told Walter that her restaurant there was attached to a hotel. Her father owned the hotel. She leased the restaurant from him, big, nice property, that she would absorb the cost if he wanted to send me over there to train in Italy. So we had to work out all the details, and then I flew over there, and I was over there for about a month. I lived in, like I said, in the hotel, which is right by the restaurant. So it wasn't a vacation. I tell people I lived there because I was going to work twice a day.
Damn.
We were at 4 a.m. The fish truck would show up and the sous chef would come up and we would go out and pick what we wanted to cook that day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
And was it just for that month, or could you have stayed if you wanted to? Or?
I could have stayed. She actually offered me a job while I was there. My daughter was like not even a year old yet, and I knew that it wouldn't be. It would. I would have to move them all there.
Right.
And I was not wanting to do that. There was some great things about being over there in Europe, but there was also some really odd things that I don't know. For example, it's very archaic when they talk about women. It's still very, very sexist. And that's just ingrained. It's ingrained in all of the people.
Really?
They have a tradition of things that doesn't make a lot of sense just from a lot of their thoughts have been the same for 1,000 years.
Right.
They've lived in the same place. Their families are in the same place. It's so much different than America, where throughout our 250 years, we've had groups of people, come in and bring new ideas, and we meld and kind of meet in the middle on some of these type of things. That's not Europe. They have been there. Their family. I mean, one of the funnier stories I had was the guy who was taking me on the tours. He told me when he came to the United States, he wanted to see the Liberty Bell. It's a big thing to, some of our historical stuff is more important to people that aren't here.
Right.
Like for us, the Liberty Bell is just something in Philly.
Yeah.
So he waited in line for an hour. He gets up to the Liberty Bell and reads the 1776 on it. And he goes, shit, the church across the street's 500 years old at my house. Why did I wait in line for this long to see something 200 years old?
Right.
So I think it's a great place to vacation, but living there, I mean, you'd have to be a young single person to be able to make it work.
That makes sense. And did you come back to the Summit Club, or did you pursue something else?
No, I came back to the Summit Club. There was 3 of us that got sent, and I didn't overlap. The other 2 got sent, and then I got sent third. Okay. I was supposed to go with a really good friend of mine at the time, but he couldn't get a passport because he owed so much in child support.
Oh.
Yeah, so we had everything lined up.
Kids.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars that he owed. Yeah, which I didn't even know he had kids. That's how I found out he had kids.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, I came back and I went back to work for the summit, and I was at the summit altogether for 5 or 6 years, and that happened in the first year.
Okay.
So yeah, I was there for a while afterwards.
So when did you finally get the title chef, and what was that journey like when you knew you were going to get that position?
Well, I mean, the first official, I guess you would call it, was sous chef.
Right.
Whenever I was a sous chef, that was in my title.
Okay.
But where I worked at the Summit Club, we were very casual because we all had, whenever we were interacting with each other, like my boss was Chef Steve, but we would call him Steve quite often. And a lot of that had to do with during service, we were such a well-oiled machine that there wasn't a need. Like we were all so on point. That it was the best kitchen I've ever worked in. I mean, everything just flowed so well that in busier kitchens, that's where that chef title and hollering for people and all that kind of stuff comes in. The first time that I really felt it was once I became the chef de cuisine at the Summit Club and was the head chef at the Penthouse. And there's a poem by Rudyard Kipling. It's called If. Okay. And one of the lines basically says, when you can keep your head when all those around you are losing theirs, that's when you're a king, my friend. And I had that happen where the entire restaurant, front of house and back of house, and everything just is going crazy. And I'm sitting there just like, well, why is everyone flipping out? And I'm calming everything down and yelling people down and getting them back in their spot. and get everything back together. And after that, it was just even the guys that I had worked with for 5 years, but I'm the one that got promoted. They started calling me chef. They stopped calling me Spencer.
Right.
And so it was never a thing where I had to go out. It happened. And it's kind of one of those. I got into a big argument at the school one time about chef toques, the chef toques.
Okay.
The history of those are basically little bitty French chefs wanted to feel like everybody should know who's in charge. So they would wear a hat that would make them the tallest person in the room.
Okay.
So that when someone would come in, they could see it. I've never felt anybody. If I'm in the room, people know who's in charge.
Right.
Like I have that personality. I have that patience, if you will, and people. I've never had the ego where I need people to call me chef or anything like that. Because when we're in the shit, I promise you, I'm the guy you want beside you. So
Right.
everybody knows that.
Yeah, and that takes like a really special person. Like when you see all these other people on like TikTok or whatever calling themselves chefs, you've probably never been in the fire or been in the weeds. Like that experience that I've seen, like going to South Dakota and seeing how chaotic it can be, and then having that person to calm everyone down. Because shit, if you're 2, 3, 4, 5 orders behind, and then you burn something or something comes back, it would fuck up everything.
Yeah.
And especially you being the chef of chefs that was already there, took a real special person. So that's pretty lit as well.
There's not very many careers where every night you're going to have an opportunity to quit.
Right.
Every night there's going to be a reason for you to walk the hell out.
Man, I burned my left hand. We had like a stack of tickets. I'm like, I don't know, this is for me.
Yeah.
What the hell is this? I don't understand it. All my saute pans are dirty. This Mexican who doesn't speak English, and I'm trying to get him to come wash the shit. And that was just, that was tough.
My best dishwasher I ever had was a Mexican dude that didn't speak English, though.
Yeah, no, okay, so it was weird how it was operated. So we had a group of Mexicans who came from Mexico. They were like on the work visa. And then we had a group of Jamaicans from Jamaica. And just mixing everybody in, their accents thick, they can't speak English. I'm like, I don't know if this was the well thought plan. And no, I mean, it worked. We had our busy nights, we had our slow nights, but yeah, it was, I can see where you need to be a special type of person to run something.
Yeah, it's also and it's one of the few things also where when you think about it, you never meet the person who's performing the service. There's not very many other. I mean, even if you go to the doctor, you might sit there and talk to the nurse practitioner or the nurse or whatever.
Right.
But at some point during that visit, the doctor comes in. It might be for 30 seconds. He might say, "Hey, this and this, and do this, and go get this."
Yeah.
Chefs don't go and talk to the tables. Cooks hardly ever get to talk to the table. It's a nameless, faceless game.
Right.
And you've got the emotional stress of at its high point during the rush. It's as stressful as anything on the planet, and it depends on how your front of house is coordinating with everything, but it can get crazy.
Right.
And then you don't get that. It's one of the funny things. A lot of people get into cooking because they like, oh man, I host and I enjoy people coming over and they like my food.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get very much of that. You have to figure it out in your profession. It's one of the reasons why I'm always really good friends with the dishwasher. Because no one knows if the food is good better than the dishwasher. How much is he cleaning off? How much is going in the trash? Are they scraping bread through your sauce because it's so good, or is it still a pile of sauce on the side?
Right.
All of those are little keys that you have to pick up, and you're not going to get that face to face very often.
Yeah. No, I want to know one of your biggest challenges in the kitchen, but first I want to ask you the same question. Oh shit, what was the question? Man, we went through a lot. Yes, sorry, your culinary career. When did you decide to go to Platt, and how did that all work out? But you had kids at that point, right? Kids
I had
wife?
two. I had two at the time.
Okay.
Wow, so long ago.
Right.
Well, we had just moved, and I had been watching a lot of cooking shows and cooking at home and stuff like that, and I just really enjoyed it. And I didn't think about going to culinary school. I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm dad. I gotta cook. And so my wife tells me that Platt has a culinary program, so you should go over there and talk to them and see about it. Mm-hmm. And so I went over there. I got enrolled, went through all the paperwork, and the first day of culinary school, I was like, I can't afford to do this. I'm not gonna go. So the first day I was supposed to start school, I ended up showing up half a day late. And at first I wasn't going to show up, but the lady, what was her name?
In admissions?
Yes.
Do you know how many people in admissions I went through?
Man, I forgot it. The pretty one. You know
I
who?
had Stephanie.
Yeah,
Stephanie?
yeah, Stephanie, the pretty one.
Hey, I went there because she sent me an email saying it was
Yeah.
nice to meet you. Hell yeah, it was nice to meet you, Stephanie. I'm definitely gonna enroll.
So she had called me, and because I had already started missing, because I guess whenever they take roll, they send it back and they tell you who's missing. And so she had called me, and I said I just can't really afford to do it right now. She said she understands. Okay, she'll try to figure something out. She gets off the phone, and then Chef Mills calls me, and he's like, I understand, you know, everything that you're thinking about, everything you're going through, but if this is something that you really want, you just have to go ahead and just take that step.
Right.
And so because of those two, I went ahead and just shoved it down my throat and was like, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a short time being there, but it was the most insightful part of my life, cooking life.
So on your first day, being a day and a half late, how were you embraced by the first instructor that you met, Chef Innigan? She was level 1, right? At that time.
Well, she was always the nicest, so I think she just threw things over her back and was like, "It's cool, come
Right.
on through," you know. She was always nice, so she was the one that you could, you know, talk to about little things,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Not that they all weren't, but some of them had their levels, like, you know, just move the fuck on, you know.
So, what was your just aha moment in school, if you had one, that's saying, "Hey, I'm actually good at this. I'm learning what I need to learn."
It wasn't cookies.
Hey, we don't talk about them cookies.
But look,
And we don't need no background laughter.
I don't know that story. I wasn't in your guys' class. I don't know that story.
Okay, so you know we had baking,
Right.
like for that, however fucking long it was.
Uh-huh.
It seemed like a year for me, and so because I had never baked, you know, store bought stuff, you know, just throw it in, yeah. But from scratch, I had never baked, and that's the one thing that my mom never taught me to baking.
Hold on. First of all, you need to understand that my man here is what we call quiet stubborn.
Okay.
So when he has stuff he doesn't want to do, he acts like he's doing it, but he ain't fucking doing it.
Says who?
He's taking 15 minutes to do shit that used to take him 3 minutes.
Right.
No. Like what?
Like
that measuring,
baking, like that entire baking.
That measuring shit is difficult. Like it's not regular measuring that I'm used to.
For 15 minutes. It's gonna be hard as shit. This equipment is gonna be tough.
It's because
you're
I'm
a smart
serious.
guy.
I am, but it is very, very technical, and you could mess up anything baking with even just the slightest thing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do not like about baking is it's so finite.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to teach me that for 2 weeks.
And this is the attitude he showed up on day one. He didn't want to learn that shit.
And baking cookies and cakes and pies and stuff. I'm like, I don't know about this, man. This is for the birds. That was the first time I wanted to quit culinary school because I was like, this is too difficult. I don't understand it, and I think that was the problem. I wasn't understanding it. Mm-hmm. A pinch here, a level here, just measure it out.
Right.
You know, so even to this day, I don't want to bake.
Yeah, because you can eyeball whatever you can do on the stove. Right. But if it goes in that oven, you got to be precise.
Exactly. And so,
that's one of the reasons why I like it, though, because it takes you out.
Right.
It makes you humble. Baking, especially when you're a hotline guy that's just used to here and there and everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Go jump on some baking for a week. It will humble your ass. I don't care how good of a fillet you can make.
But see, I was humble already. Y'all should just let me pass that. So I ended up making cookies for like a week straight. Peanut butter cookies. And it was either too hard, or it didn't round out, or it didn't have the fork split. It was a whole bunch of stuff just on cookies. And then the chocolate chip cookies weren't right because I grabbed the wrong chocolate chips and it was still the wrong texture. It was just trash.
And the lesson is 3 years later, he randomly sends me a picture of some peanut butter cookies.
Yeah.
Damn.
But see, I'm going to tell you about those. That's easy.
They looked fucking awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The reason it was easy, I understood that one, is because I found a recipe where it was only 3 ingredients. A cup of peanut butter, half a cup of sugar, and a fucking egg. So easy. I was
This shit could have been done.
I was like, I could have did this in school.
Yeah, this was the
And I would have been done. I wouldn't have been baking for a week straight. I would have had the confidence and key, and probably would have been baking to this day.
That's hilarious.
I had that moment with creme brulee whenever I was professional out in the field, where I couldn't get them to come out exactly how I wanted, and so every day for 4 days in a row at the club, like in between tickets, in between like working extra hard during prep to get everything done,
Right.
so I could go get it. And then finally on the 4th day, I got it right, and I've had them ever since.
Yeah, especially the hot milk and egg.
The custard, yeah.
Oh shit! And then putting it in that water bath, like a little spill in there could fuck it up. I remember Chef Zimple, he was sous videing my creme brulee, and it didn't set right. And I was like, I really wanted this, man. Yeah, it was a cookie and cream creme brulee. So yeah, going back to the question, what was one of the best things you made in culinary school?
One of the best things. I don't know. To me, my highest point was when we were doing the mystery boxes. Like I think it was the first week of being there, and we did a mystery box, and it was a shrimp, and so I did a shrimp taco. I had never made a shrimp taco ever in my life.
Win that?
I did.
I
think that was the highest point. The lowest would be baking. Highest would be that first thing.
Yeah, especially getting recognitions and then seasoned chefs saying this is good.
Yeah.
They probably won't say that to a lot of people. So yeah. I understand that feeling.
What was your high point?
Shit, I would, winning student of the month as well. It was only me and one other person.
Yeah.
My sauce was fucking disgusting. It was like sriracha something, and I added some cornstarch to make it thick, but it was just grainy.
We're all grown men here, and I'm just going to tell you, that's the low point of my culinary experience. Was every month having to taste that shit. Now the problem is there'd be a few that would be really good.
Right.
Not all of them would be very good. You guys have seen some of the people you guys were cooking with.
Yeah.
And so being able to taste that stuff and try to critique someone in a way that doesn't crush their soul,
right?
That's hard. I mean, it was hard.
Man, I remember when oh my goodness, the pretty chef Steels? No, oh my gosh.
The dude?
He almost got stabbed by the teacher or by the student.
Oh, the one that quit.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Sparks.
That's what it was. Yeah. He told this girl, I guess she was like half Mexican. And it was like, well, that's not how my parents do it. I don't care how your parents do it. You do it the way I tell you. I'm like, shit, I guess so. No, but I remember the day that we had wild rice in our mystery basket, and I really felt bad for everybody who had to try that. But I did learn in South Dakota, like chicken stock water and put it in the oven. That shit will be done in like 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I learned.
I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about it when we had to do it. It was like 45 minutes. Y'all
it was.
I kept tasting it. I got the bullets too.
I was like, I'm trying to boil this, add more water. That shit was.
We only got an hour to do this. I don't know what's going on.
Right?
I used to get really scared whenever because I would try to involve all the instructors and everything and like coming up with what it was. But I would know that there was ingredients that they shouldn't pick that we were going to have a nightmare with, and they would still do it. Like wild rice or like stuff that was tricky, that was a hang up that maybe 1 or 2 of the 10 that were competing might be able to get right. But it's one of those things too where I've got to let them be part of the team. You know what I'm saying? So I have some photos in my phone that are very funny because I had some of the nurses. They were always bragging about that I had the best job on campus because all I did was walk around and taste food. Of course, that's what they think.
Right.
So I had them come over and judge some of the Student of the Month competitions. And I have a series of photos of them smiling with the plate and then taking a bite. And it's the worst face you've ever seen. And so I sent that to him, and I said, yeah, best job on campus.
Right? Especially when it's bland, too salty, sweet. I don't know how this is sweet. This is catfish. I'm so confused. Okay, so Spencer, getting that job at Platt, how did that come about since you were doing so well at the Summit Club?
Well, it's actually pretty interesting because I actually had quit the Summit Club. At the time, and I had come back and I was working in Claremore at a retirement home. Okay. I was assistant dietary manager there, and the program director reached out to me for a part-time night job. And that's how it was. It was really odd because I had to do 4 or 5 interviews, and at the time, that program director was running Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
Mhm.
So he would spend 1 week there, 1 week here, vice versa.
Right.
So of the 4 interviews, 3 times that he had set up an appointment that I went to, he wasn't on campus. He was in Oklahoma City.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that took a couple of months, and then they offered me the part-time job at night. I did the first 6 weeks. Actually, I did 6 weeks of training during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I did 6 weeks at night. And then randomly, one of the day people had quit, and so he brought me back on during the day.
Exciting. Yeah. So Jarrell, going through that experience, meeting different people, learning new things from chefs that were well versed in a lot of things, but had like their own specific things. Like you with pasta, Chef Simple, with me, Chef Manningham with what was it, food manipulation, whatever
Pretty much.
everything was. So, what do you think was the big takeaway that you are now implementing in your own life years later?
Wow. Big takeaway. I don't know. Because it was a lot that we learned, you know. Um, a lot of it is cooking and just figuring out what you're doing, making flavors, blending stuff like that. But it's also personal.
Mhm.
Like you've got to know you to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, because there's a lot of jobs that you work and you're doing the work, you're doing as good as you can, but your uppers don't see that.
Mhm.
And they're like, you know, you need to do this and that, and, you know. So I don't know. You have to have the gumption to dig deep into it. Like if that's what you really want, you can go ahead and dig into it. But you also have to know the point where you say that they're wrong.
Right.
So I learned that because Chef or Spencer,
Both.
either or, at school taught me that, you know, you're good at what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to have your voice too.
Right.
And so when I started there, I was just, you know, real quiet, you know, and just did what I did. And if there was a group project, I'd just be in the background doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have it all. You have to be well rounded. You can be able to cook, but you have to be able to voice it and show leadership of where you're going to do what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's one big thing that I didn't know going into it because we see all these TV shows like Gordon Ramsay yelling at everybody.
Yeah.
But needing actual people skills to communicate with your kitchen is really a big thing because if you don't hear a ticket and the guy calling it out thinks you heard it,
Yeah.
it fucks everything up.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, being well rounded is a really big thing. So finally getting that diploma, walking across that stage, what was going through your mind?
I didn't walk the stage.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did.
I did not. I got it.
Hmm.
I don't know what was the term, cum laude,
Yeah, cum
laude. So I got that. I was supposed to go walk across, get my diploma and stuff
Right.
like that. I didn't, and I didn't know at the time the reason why I didn't want to do it. Now I know the reason I didn't want to do it is I know it's an accomplishment, but I didn't feel as though I accomplished anything.
Mhm.
I just went in and did some work, and the accomplishment will come if I stick with it.
Right.
And so I've always held that in my head when I've been like, I don't want to cook anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you want? I want to accomplish something. Well, you're taking the steps to get to accomplish it. You just got to put in the work. And so one day I might go back and get my diploma and stuff like that. But I just, at that time, I didn't feel like I earned it.
Right.
Even though I was doing work, I just feel like there's so much more that I need to do before I can, you know, accept that.
Right.
Just like the title of chef.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, especially having the instructors give you the ingredients,
Yeah.
basically walk you through everything. So I could see where that's like a confidence
Yeah.
killer, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, no, I mean, like you said, taking the steps, especially learning new things, and then eventually the end goal is the food truck.
Yeah.
So is that when you think you'll feel like shit, I did it, or you want to get the food truck accomplished, whatever you need to, or
Probably
stay
not.
afloat for a year?
Yeah.
Like
Probably not. I think it's just me. I just want to, I don't know. I've just always been that guy that's in the background, just doing work, not looking for it. And so I don't think that's going to change much.
Yeah.
I think, one stepping stone at a time.
Right.
Eventually I'll get there.
Yeah,
But
no, I totally understand. Especially with podcasts, like sometimes I'm like, shit, I should do more. I should be interviewing people, twice a day, 3 times a day, or whatever. But just having anything, I feel like is an accomplishment, even though I can do more.
Right.
So no, I get where you're coming from in that. So, I want to hear you guys' like, what was one of the craziest things that happened in the kitchen? Chef, I remember one time, I think it was you, either you or Chef Zipple. You were like, yeah, I was working and this guy didn't have a thermometer or a pen in his pocket, and the chef ripped his pocket coat. Was that you or?
I've worked at a few places where that's kind of the protocol, whether it's your pocket on your apron or your pocket on your coat. But most of the kitchens that I've been in, I've not. I don't play that shit.
Right.
It's one thing, like with words and all that, you can say whatever, we can joke around and kid, but I kind of need you out of my space, and I'm not one that deals with that well.
Yeah.
When I was at the Summit Club, we had a guy that was leaving, and he was a chef. Matter of fact, he had passed away in the last few years. Rest in peace, Chef Brian. You guys met him whenever he came up to the school, Brian Burke, the redheaded guy that I brought up. Yeah, he passed away.
Really?
Yeah, he had colon cancer real bad.
Yeah. A lot of people are passing away from colon cancer.
Yeah, I did find a random blog that he had started before. It's still online, and it's got like 5 or 6 posts about food and his food life and stuff. It's pretty interesting. Cool. Yeah. But whenever he was leaving on his last day, all of the cooks and the front of house kind of tackled him and poured chocolate syrup all over him and tore up his stuff, like ripped his name off of his chef coat and all of this shit. And, he loved it. He was just one of the nicest guys. I mean, he had his moments, but we all do. Right. We all shook hands and everything, and he parted ways. And as he was leaving the building, I turned to my guys and I said, "You ever do that shit to me, I'll kill every fucking one of you."
Right. Like, dude, when I went to South Dakota and I had to get me my own chef coat, them was expensive. And, yeah, I don't think I could have.
Well, my thing is, I've got a mental problem from whenever I was a kid and having an older brother and getting tons of hand-me-down clothes. Mm-hmm. So one of the first things, whenever I got a nice chef coat, the chef at the time handed it to me and he said, "I expect this thing to stay white, just bright, solid white." Right. And it's actually one of the things that bugs people when they work with me, and you guys probably noticed it at school, is I work very clean. Like it's very rare that I get anything even on my apron.
That was messy as shit.
Yeah, and
a lot like, come on, Julie, you gotta. Damn, man, I have a belly. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and it's followed me. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, and that's like I have a pair of Jordans that I bought. I've had them for 5 or 6 years, and I haven't worn them 20 times. It can't have rained. I can't be walking on the grass. I got to be concrete only. Like, I'm just really particular about whenever I finally do get something nice, I almost don't use it to protect it.
Right. No, I bought the new LeBrons that he wore in Space Jams. I probably wore it like 3 times. Yeah. No, I understand. So, Jarrell, do you have a crazy kitchen moment or story?
No, not really. I mean, I don't know. The only one that ever comes to my mind is when I almost cut a guy's finger off. Okay. Yeah, so I was working at Jimmy John's.
And he touched my rolls. I told him not to touch my rolls. All I got, fresh bread and vegetables. He was on vegetables. Don't come over here.
I don't know how it happened, but somehow his hand ended up where the bread is. And so, I don't know, because at the time I was an assistant manager there too, but, I had to work the line too. So I was working the line and I'm at the beginning, which is the bread. So we got register, then bread. So I'm at the bread getting ready to cut, and one of the drivers calls me. So I turn my head, but I know the bread is there. Right. So I know, because I've been doing it for a while, just to cut as I go, just work while I talk. Mm-hmm. And so I sliced, but I guess he thought that I had already sliced it. So he puts his hand out there, and I slice, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel like bread.
Whole grain.
Yeah. I can't believe it's not bread.
And so I turn around and it's the dude's hand. He's holding his hand. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, you cut me. I was like, I did not cut you. I cut the bread's not cut. I didn't see that
Shit.
coming. So, I think that was one of the craziest. And we had customers and we still had to do food, but I'm like, there's blood, so we got to clean that all up, move it around, and you have to go ahead and go to the hospital.
Right.
And the bad thing about it is that he couldn't drive. He was underage. He was like 17.
Did you drive him to the hospital?
No, I had to call my GM. Actually, it's Tapley's son. Yeah. So I had to call my GM, and he's like, well, what happened? I was like, well, I'll have to tell you later. We got to clean up, and I had to get the customers out so that I could lock the door. And so, yeah, the GM comes and gets him and takes him to the hospital. And then I guess his dad Tapley meets him up there. And so he comes back the next day and he's like, yeah, that knife was pretty sharp. If it was a little bit deeper, I wouldn't, be able to move my fingers in my hand. Yeah.
You know how many times you pointed in a day?
I was at the summit once with Chef Brian again, and it was just 3 of us working lunch. And so he had went to go get something to eat, and Dante, who was our pantry cook, he was back off in the corner, and I'm on the other side, like cleaning down my fry stuff and all this kind of stuff. Dante had went and got Chef Brian's chair, and took it back over there to eat. Well, Brian comes back in, and he's like, "Where's my fucking chair?" And I was like, "Don't ask Dante." And everybody's laughing and stuff. And Brian is like, "Hey, man, I want my chair back." And so Dante stands up, and Brian runs over there and just starts bear hugging him, and they're tussling. And the next thing I know, I hear Brian yell, "Oh, shit." And he turns around, and he's walking with a serious limp. And I look, and I'm like, I'm probably 20 feet away, but I've seen everything that just happened.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I see blood pouring onto the floor. And then when the wind or something catches his leg, you can see a chef's knife wide gap. Dante was holding his knife in his hand, and Brian did like a fake hump, put his leg up on the side, and rammed it straight into his leg. The gangster part is he made Dante take his ass to the hospital.
It's technically Dante's fault. That's all I'm saying.
And came back and worked the night shift with 10 stitches in his leg.
That's
So that was the gangster shit right there.
Oh, man.
You guys remember the day I almost cut my thumb off?
Yes.
That shit pissed me off. Because like a week or two before, I was cutting some bacon. This is why I'll eat pork somewhere. I was cutting some bacon, and it slipped and hit the same spot. So when I was in culinary, or when we were at
Don't
school,
blame bacon because you can't cut shit.
I know, man. I was in culinary school, I was cutting that onion. I've been traumatized by onions, and then damn near cut my thumb off. That pissed me off. And then nobody drove me, which I felt was like, that was short for me. Damn.
Because you didn't say nothing after. You just walked out. You was
Yeah.
just like,
And then I came back, and then that Bailey girl was like, "You came back a little bit? What about you? What did I do? Like, what else do you expect me to do?"
I saw some bad ones whenever I was there at the school.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, it would get to the point where you almost get desensitized to little nicks and stuff like that. I mean, and to the person, it might be one of the worst cuts they've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
But once you've been in the business for a while, it's almost like the blood hasn't even hit the ground yet. Quit bitching. What are you doing? Like, I would much rather get cut than burned. A burn in the kitchen is the worst, because then the rest of the night you can't even get anywhere by the fire, or your hand is just on fire. It's
I remember first getting there, and we had to do some soup or something, and I put it in a Ziploc bag and a bowl, and then it expanded, so I was trying to pull it out of the bag, and it busted, got all over my stomach. Like for 3 days, it was just fire, and it was just the worst.
well, I heard that if you use mustard, it'll calm it down.
Really?
Yeah, I've done it a couple times.
It will take a little bit of the sting out. I think it has to do with the amount of vinegar that's in there.
Yeah.
But
I dropped mustard on my shoe at Flat. Like the big ass mustard thing, it dropped. I have a picture of it. It was very disappointing. I'm like, really? Mustard? I don't even like mustard. What the fuck was I doing with mustard? Yeah. That's a weird thing. Well, I guess that's all about school. What are you guys up to now?
Go ahead, Drew.
Pretty much the same. Picking up the health food place.
How are the children? The wife?
They're doing good. The youngest is 3. The youngest is 3, and he's starting to hit that bad stride. Not listening, just normal 3-year-old crap.
Yeah, my son's an asshole.
And then the middle one, he's trying to find his way.
Mm-hmm.
He's at that age. He's 9. He's trying to figure out how to get everybody's attention while being himself.
Right.
And then the oldest, the bratty asshole, uh, she's just walking around like she's queen, doing gymnastics and stuff. And then
Yeah, I see a little bit here and there.
yeah, and then the missus doing real estate. You know, you can look her up, Kelsey McIntyre.
Yeah.
Go ahead and plug her.
If I had money, I would
Yeah,
definitely-
so she's doing real estate and just staying at home with the kids and stuff like that. So get up every day, go to work, and that's it.
Exciting.
Pretty much.
Your kids should be going back to school, right?
They go back next week. So, well, 2 out of the 3.
Yeah. So being a father and then making a drastic decision like going to culinary school was a little bit uh, like influence to go for them, you know, because I know with me, I wanted to start podcasting just so the opportunities that I could have. You know, certain people I meet, when Elijah grows up, I can have him, oh, go meet this guy if you like airplanes. Or,
Yeah.
let me call this guy if you like, I want to be well connected. So was that ever a thought like, damn, I got to do something that is stable, that can set me up for years to come?
Yeah, it was always the thought for them just to try to set them up for their future.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was 50-50. Mainly for them just to have those connections for their future, but for me too, just because, you know, I've always been the kid in my family where I worry about other people. I'm the youngest. So I always worry about other people, in my family, friends, whatever, if they're older or younger. And I always put myself to the back burner.
Right.
And so it was 50-50 for me to go do culinary was for me, but I want to be able to influence the children too, you know.
Yeah. So how long you been married? Because you're legit married, not just girlfriend that has kids. Like you're legit married, right?
9 years. 9 years. We've been together for 12.
Mm-hmm.
We met in high school. Dated 3 years, and then ended up getting pregnant, having our first kid, the daughter, Maya. And after that, you know, we were just trying to figure out life, and then here comes Jay, the second one, not even a year and a half later. And so, yeah, it just kept rolling out, and we just kept figuring it out, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So
I have a legit question. Do you have a favorite kid?
do I have a favorite kid?
Yeah, because okay, so me, I have one, right? He's unexpected.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want more kids because I've experienced everything with him, and I don't want the next child to be an asshole, and I don't like it. Like
Well,
my
then you
son,
haven't
my son
experienced
rose the
everything
bar. No, see,
You got to get the asshole part.
He has a lot of his mama in him. I'm like, come here. He's like, no. I'm like, should I push this 2-year-old, or should I just accept that I'm a bitch at this point? Right, man. Like, I work overnight and I come home. He's like, num num. I'm like, excuse me? He's like, num num. Like, nigga, can I sleep? I am tired.
Exactly.
He doesn't care about any of that. So, yeah, do you have a favorite kid? Because he's my least and my favorite kid.
No, I don't have a favorite, but I do have one that I connect with more than the others, which is the youngest. Which is weird. When I first had,
3.
I guess so. But like he's really attached to me.
Mm.
My daughter was kind of attached to me, but she would rather be with her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then my first son was like, I just want my mom. So
Right.
he didn't really want to spend time with me at all. And then comes along with the newest one, and he's just attached to me. I don't know. So me and him have a lot more fun. And then me and my son are trying to learn to connect because I feel like he's a little weird sometimes. But then I might be the weird one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like a disconnect, and then my daughter just doesn't want to be anything to do with me.
Right.
There's nothing girly about that.
Yeah.
So no.
Yeah, so your daughter's in gymnastics, your son's 9. Is he playing any sports, or is he more like comic books, anime?
Well, see, that's what he's trying to figure out.
Mm.
When he was younger, he played baseball. He played baseball for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, you want to do it again? He was like, yeah. Year comes around. No, I don't want to do it.
Right.
So then he ended up doing karate. He did karate for about 2 years. It's like, you want to keep doing it? I know you said you want to do weapons and stuff. And he was like, not really anymore.
Yeah.
So now he's into chess and playing guitar.
That's lit.
So we're trying to, yeah.
Man, chess is interesting. I learned how to play chess balls in elementary, but like I'm not nowhere as good as like you can be. Like people was like, "Oh, you're doing this move." No, I'm not. I'm just this shit goes here, so I'm gonna put it there. You feel me?
I made $200 at an academic meet whenever I was a freshman in high school,
Really?
hustling chess, because the Asian dudes couldn't believe that my black friend could beat them. And I just kept instigating all of these matches the whole time.
That's hilarious.
He and I were splitting the money 50-50. Because I was pretty good, but he was like a fucking savant. Like, he was unbeatable. But he didn't look like a smart dude.
Yeah.
And so, oh my God, like you show up, there's 150 Asian kids that are super smart and can't accept that somebody else is smarter than them. And like playing $10 a match, we made $200 a piece.
Shit.
Wow.
Peace, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, so Spencer, same question. What's going on with you, man? I haven't seen you and shit. We're supposed to play basketball, a one-on-one match.
Well, you've passed your prime.
That is true. I probably can't shoot a fucking.
We'll wait for you to get back in shape, and then we'll pick that back up. Man, I've been staying my ass out of Tulsa, to be honest with you. I went through during the COVID and all that stuff with the school and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I was technically their employee for 6 months after. I was furloughed and everything else before they made the decision to actually shut it down.
Right.
It was September, October of 2020 before they kind of released us, if you will. So I've worked a few jobs here and there, did some assembly stuff, but I haven't been back in the kitchen since then. I do have a bunch of applications and stuff out now. I'm kind of getting back into the groove of that. But yeah, I just been staying at home, doing the home life stuff, trying to make a little money here and there where I can, to keep my bills paid and shit like that. But, these fucking manifestos aren't going to write themselves. That shit takes a while.
So being out of the kitchen for that long, was that like a hard decision to go back into the kitchen now? No. It's you, right?
Well, yeah, and it's I've applied to all different types of stuff, and I'm looking for all different type of work.
Right.
But I don't mind. I'm a changed person from the last time I was in the kitchen. Having worked at the funeral home or the retirement home and the school was a great education for me on modernizing how I deal with people in that capacity, because I was trained by an old school chef. I grew up in the old school chef world. Luckily, I'm not. I don't have a big attitude, so I've never had like any physical stuff in kitchens. But I've fucking seen it. I've seen lots of it. You know what I mean? And I've seen how people. I once told a guy, this is how stupid I am, what an idiot I am. I once told a guy he didn't want to change out the fryer because I didn't have chemical gloves. And this is how much of an idiot I was. I told him, you know what? I use my fucking balls because I'm a man, bitch. Quit bitching and do it or fucking go home. That's how old school and stupid before I had those other experiences.
Right.
The retirement center was a shock because I was the only guy.
Mm.
So that taught me a lot about interacting with females and coworkers, because in a lot of kitchens you don't have a lot of female chefs or cooks. You might have one or two, but it's a flipped environment when you're the only guy. So that taught me a lot. I grew a lot in how I delegated and dealt with people and whatnot. And then the school. I mean, the school helped me tremendously as far as finding the common ground and being able to get through to everyone. Understanding, that you can't just say one sentence and it just be a blanket statement and that everybody get it equally.
Right.
Because circumstances, backgrounds, hell, what our future holds, it's all different.
Yeah.
So I think that's helped me a lot in my management style now, is because I can know the individual, know what to say, but at the same time, I mean, you guys would have to tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like I'm personable enough with each person that I probably get away with saying a lot more than other people can.
Right.
I can be pretty damn honest and brutal, and some people might go, oh, fuck, he's an asshole. But most people are like, oh, you might be right. I need to let me think about this for a minute. It wasn't coming from a mean place. It was coming from a correction place.
Right.
So I think that those experiences, those 6-7 years of that management helped me a lot. Because before it was brute force. I was the biggest guy, so you're gonna fucking do it or go home.
Right.
I used to think you were like that when I first got to school. When you did the what is it? I think it was the risotto. I guess it was the demonstration. Like it was the day before school where we all came up there and you did the demonstration. And I was like, I don't know, this guy seems like a bit of an asshole. I don't know if I'll be able to do it because I'm slow to temper, but when I get there, it's really bad. Like it's a blow up. And so I just thought that would be you. You would be the one to end up getting me there. And I didn't want to do it at first. I didn't want to go to school just because of that. So at first I was like shook. I was like, I don't know if me and him will get along.
Well, I'm loud.
Yeah.
I'm opinionated.
Yeah.
And when I'm in the kitchen doing my thing, I'm very confident.
Yeah.
So that can be three things
Yeah.
that can rub somebody the wrong way.
But shit, I mean, you paid your dues to be that way.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why, like you were saying, a lot of people take your criticism, well. And I feel like just knowing what you've been through, and then having that respect for you, I'm like, shit, he's not gonna tell me something that he wouldn't want somebody to tell him if he was fucking him.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a big thing coming from a student standpoint.
Well,
how I took your criticism.
Yeah, and I can come off as arrogant, like at the beginning. But I think that once you get to know me, just after a few conversations, you realize that a lot of that is like me making fun of myself too.
Yeah.
Like where I'm talking about, oh, I know I'm the best and blah blah blah. Well, I know I'm not. You know what I mean? I've told the guys I wasn't the best cook at school for every class.
Yeah.
There was always somebody in there somewhere that had a little something. You know. Now my experience makes me a way better chef. You know, you can throw me in the kitchen and we're gonna get the job done. But yeah, that was never my thing. So a lot of the times I do that too, almost as like a point of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's take the attention off of what we just burned the shit out of, and let's talk about how, bloviate my ego real quick, even though it's kind of a false bravado type thing.
So being that way, did you have any problems with the other chefs that you were, with the boss of, basically, boss or the chef of them?
Well, I have a weird category that I fall into because I don't have, I didn't go to CIA in New York, Hyde Park. I have falling out with the ACF, the American Culinary Federation, and that's how you get your like certified chef, certified master chef, all of this kind of stuff. There's a long history there.
So fuck them, right?
So my resume is awesome if you look at what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff,
right,
and what I have done, but I don't have some of the accreditations that someone might like for example, Southern Hills. I think the last 2 or 3 chefs that they hired were certified master chefs.
Oh, shit.
I mean, in much respect, there's like 90 of those people in the world. Right. So, that's awesome. But I'll never be that. I'm not going to put myself through that to do that. That test by itself has cost you like $20,000. Most of the time you get sponsored by the place you're working to do it. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to live my life for 6 months preparing for this one thing because I've never been in it for the money. I have a problem. I don't really, money doesn't mean anything to me. As long as I have enough money to get a few things, some gas here and do that, which is also one of the reasons why I have a gambling problem. It's because it's not real to me. It's like a carpenter with their nails. If I got to build this house, I'm not going to count nails. I'm just going to do it. Right. So I've never went for that. Usually the way that my career has worked out is wherever I work, I'm going to advance as far as I can go there and then make a decision. Mm-hmm. Is this something that I want to stay and be in this position, or do I need to go find something else and move up that ladder? Right. And then the other problem that I've had is I've had, my crazy drug experiences. I lived in that world for a while, been arrested, the whole thing. But there's some rough fucking cooks out there, man. I mean, there are cooks. I worked with a guy who told us he was a crackhead.
Shit.
Yes. And like he said, I promise you I'll be here because I got to have that fucking money on Friday. And so, like, he was very reliable. He was a shit cook, but he was very reliable. Yeah. And so I can relate to those people, but I also have a limit and a threshold on once you get to the point where I don't think I can help you anymore, you're kind of gone.
In the sense of helping, like, personal or
personal.
In the kitchen? Okay.
In the kitchen, well, that's quick.
Right.
If you're not doing what needs to be done in the kitchen, you're gone already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I tend to form that bond with people, so... Well, I'll give you an example. One of the kids that just drove me insane at culinary school. Damn it, I can't remember. He was the kid that got his jaw broke, had his jaw wired because he.
We were there.
Yeah. I think his name was Luis.
Oh, yeah, Luigi.
Luigi.
Oh man! Remember he was on drugs and y'all made him clean the windows. I was like, man out here cleaning windows, but he was so happy.
The thing that drove me crazy about that guy was I knew he was never going to change. He was never going to stop getting drunk, to the point. What first of all, if you get drunk to the point that you're calling a dude an N-bomb at Quick Trip and getting knocked out and get your jaw wired shut, A, you had it coming, but B, that's not something you're going to change.
Right.
And the constant, like, I don't care if people smoking weed. I don't care what people do on their weekend. Like I said, I work with a crackhead dude.
Right.
Whatever's on your time is fine. But when we're on the line, man, get your shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem I had with him was he come in so fucking hungover that he was basically half drunk.
Shit.
Like, he didn't drink before school. Like, so he's not doing anything illegal.
Right.
But he drank so much till 1 or 2 in the morning. And I just knew that he has so much potential. I mean, when you look at the guy, there's nothing to him. It's not like he's one of those guys that just draws people in.
Right.
But yet that little clique all focused around him.
Yeah.
He had the charisma and the energy to go be a sous chef or a chef somewhere and really lead people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never going to happen. And that's the thing that drives me more crazy than anything, is that seeing those people who, not because of other life interests, not like a Roe.
Mm-hmm.
Where I know that Ro could have been whatever she wanted to be, but I told her from the jump that this wasn't the life for her.
Mm.
She would have to make a super commitment. She could be anything she wants to be.
And who was that again?
Ronella?
You don't remember Ro?
The black girl?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is that the one who went to South Dakota as well?
No, I don't think she did. No, you're talking about Claritha.
Okay.
She graduated before us, didn't she?
Yeah, she graduated, but she came back around a lot. She was big, tall, wore glasses, had
Yeah, she came and told us to come apply at the
Stone Horse.
No.
Probably not.
No, this one when she was working at the Alzheimer's place over there on 71st and Yale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I might have to see her again. I don't remember her.
Yeah, like
that's frustrating.
she made life choices to kind of get her out of the industry, which is great. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's great.
Right.
But don't do it when you're telling me what you want and everything that you're doing is hurting that. That's when I have a problem.
Mm.
Like, if you're just like, I worked with this guy, Derek. I fought for him like 2 or 3 times at the Summit Club because my boss was wanting to fire. But he was one of those people that you never had to check. Like, you put him on a station, he knows what he's supposed to do, and that's it. You don't have to worry about him until the end of the shift. He was solid. He was a good cook, worked at all of these different places. And I talked to him one time. I was like, hey, would you be interested? And he was like, hell no. No. I said, why not? He's like, hey, I'm making $17 an hour, and I get to go home and not worry about this shit.
Right.
And he goes, you're at home, you're worrying about it all of the time. So I don't want that for what, $3 or $4 bucks an hour?
And
like,
you're basically on call type shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I respect those people who know what they want and they're doing what they want. But yeah, that's the problem that I've faced in the world is, it's, I don't know if you guys were there when the big fight broke out, and the thing that still rings in my head is one of the students yelling to me, Chef Mills, you can't save them all.
Damn.
Yeah.
It was like an actual fight?
Yeah. I
I
remember
missed
that.
a lot
I
of
forget
days.
who it was, but yeah, I remember that.
Damn. Do you remember when the girl with the limp was
Oh,
arguing?
shut up. I do. I liked her though. She was a really nice person.
Pretty sure she was an assassin. Like, she was a part of the Black Widow.
No. I'm still friends with her on Facebook. She's very nice. She dyed her hair
She might
blonde.
see this and kill me. So.
She dyed her hair blonde.
Really?
Yeah.
Was this a student or somebody y'all ran into?
Katie.
Katie,
Yeah.
The Russian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was
Did she
she
move
was
to
on-
Florida? That's what she was doing whenever she left school. She's supposed to be moving down there.
she went back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just did
I wonder
she was
if
just on the news, Fox
she changed her
23.
profile. She fucking Ukrainian now?
She was on there talking about that.
What?
Yes.
She was
She was on Fox 23. She was on the TV.
She was on the news?
Yeah.
What?
Because I guess she had told him her story that they had came over,
Oh,
you
she's
know.
super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's a nice person. I think she's really sensitive.
Y'all see anybody else from school? Y'all run into anybody?
No, I've been looking for Ben though.
Oh,
That's the only person I want to find is Ben.
Ben!
What are the odds that he's alive?
Come over here. Come over here.
He's alive. He's alive. I talk to him all the
Do
time.
you?
Yeah. He's doing a lot. He floats back and forth everywhere. I think he's still at the hospital. He does that every now and then. And then last thing we talked about was him doing his own business somewhere.
He sent me some world-class random ass texts after he graduated.
Really?
Yeah, he does that.
I mean, it just out of
Out of
nowhere.
nowhere.
And a different number, and like I know
Every
who
time.
this motherfucker is. Like he sent me one, Chef, you won't believe it, I got a job.
Mm-hmm.
I said, who is this? And he didn't respond for a week.
Yeah.
And then sent back Ben. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was one day Chef Zimple made. He's a Muslim. He's Native American and a Muslim. I didn't know how that worked. But Chef Zimple made him cut bacon or pork or whatever. I'm like, that's fucked up.
No, that was fine. No, just don't eat it.
I'm like, damn. He was in there just doing his own thing. I'm like, I wonder how this.
He was
I wonder
upset
what he's
that day.
thinking
He was
about.
upset that day.
Is Ben's dad still around? Because I know that he was basically telling me that when his dad passed away, he was getting all the inheritance or whatever. It's one of the reasons why he had to go to school and kind of get his shit together.
Oh yeah, I remember
He
that.
did it now.
Camaro, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his daddy's Camaro. That
Shit.
That's
I said,
another thing.
if I could drive my dad's car, I would know it.
I really like Ben. He had a confidence problem,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure whether induced by himself or not, there's a little bit of chemical imbalance going on there. But I really liked him because he was very introspective. He understood that what his problems were and how he was trying to overcome them and everything. That's good that he's still around. I was thinking about him about a month ago or so, actually.
Yeah, when
he
she
comes
was
to mind every now
yeah,
and then.
she was in labor or getting induced or whatever, and I went to the cafeteria at the hospital, and he was there, and I was like, well, okay, nice to see you, I guess. But he was always energetic. He was a real genuine person, so I really did enjoy him. Is there anybody you guys didn't like? I mean, we're 4 years apart now. Is there anybody you didn't like?
Daily.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah.
That ass.
You know what pissed
She
me
like
off?
randomly pops up in my life. I'm like, ew.
No, so there's before you guys got there, or probably when you guys first got there. I didn't smoke at the time. So they would all go smoke, whatever, and I would do my dishes. And then when they would come back, I would be all done.
Yeah.
And then she told Chef Sparks, she was like, he's not doing nothing. I'm like, hold on a minute. I'm not taking 20 minutes to go smoke a fucking cigarette. So that was,
She's complicated, that's for sure. I never had a problem with her. I know that she caused problems with other people, with little cliques and shit like that.
right.
But I was I had a different view on all that shit than you guys did.
Mm.
In my time there, I had 400 or 500 kids come through.
Yeah.
I didn't like several hundred of them,
Shit.
but I never got to a point where I hated someone.
Mm.
There was people that, I've thrown people out of school. I've had problems with people. I've not liked the way that people have acted. But it is weird kind of seeing it from my perspective, like seeing the drama that's caused between the cliques, and the rumors and all this kind of shit. Didn't really affect me that much, man. If I can be straight up, like that shit between y'all, like for me, it was just like, okay, is it going to disrupt the lecture?
Right.
Or is it going to disrupt the class or anything like that? If it's not, I just have to compartmentalize that
Yeah.
stuff.
So you really didn't give a fuck as long as it didn't mess with business.
Well, I did, but I wasn't going to let you guys know that.
Mm.
And I wasn't going to be unprofessional. And so when people would come to my office and they would talk to me, hell yeah, we get in depth. We talk about all this. I'll tell you exactly what I feel.
Right.
But it was not going to be something that I would bring. So, like, if I'm coming to class, like, unless it was a yelling, like, distracting type shit, which usually didn't happen in my class, except for whenever that old girl tried to kill that old boy with a knife. That shit was fucking great. That was great.
How do I not remember these things?
I don't know if you knew about this. This dude had done 15 or 16 years for murder one.
And she tried. Yeah, that's not the person you want to try to kill.
Let me tell you something. First of all, I have to hand this guy, and I didn't get to know him at this point, and I got to give him a sack of the sharpest knives he's ever had in his life, knowing that this dude just did 15 years for murder one.
He filleted somebody.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, my psoriasis, whatever you want to call it, is probably the reason that the whole thing happened.
No.
Because you guys know how I am with my station.
Yeah.
If you put something on my station, I might throw the shit in the floor.
Right.
Like, that's my shit. Like, don't touch it. That's one of the things I'm very adamant about. And so that was kind of the way that class was. Like, everybody's working on your own station. Keep your shit off of my station.
Right.
Everything was fine. And they were across from each other. So 2 tables that were buttoned up.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess some of her stuff had crossed the little line or whatever. And so instead of, like, saying something, I don't know if there was a prior problem between these 2 people. I know they both had their own issues.
Right.
Yeah.
But out of nowhere, the guy just takes his arm and just shoves the shit back across and says, "Get your shit off my fucking station." Like that. At this point, she comes around the table and I am like up on the stove or something. And she comes around to where my station is, and then I just hear someone scream "chef," and she's closer than me and you are, and she's holding my knife like this at this guy. And you said earlier about not the guy. When I saw the look in his eyes, I was like, you better fucking kill him if you stab him.
Right.
He was going to fucking kill him.
It's 15 years.
And he
You
wasn't.
don't mess with somebody.
There was like no emotion. You could see his fucking eyes going, you fucking even, I mean, he was ready. He was ready for it. That's probably not the first time. I mean, you've been in prison for 15 years.
Right, I'm pretty sure you killed more people.
Yeah. So I had to get the knife. I might be as mad that it was my knife.
Right.
And I also knew that I had to throw her out of school.
Mm.
You don't get to make that threat, not even once joking around, like not with a knife in your hand. It's one thing for me to say I'll cut you, but it's another thing when I'm holding a knife at you and say I'm gonna cut you.
Dude, those are deadly weapons, basically.
Yeah. So I had to walk her off campus, talk to her and the whole thing, and she was flipping out with the whole boyfriend gonna come back. What's weird is all the people that I had to throw out of school, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. No one ever got mad at me. Most of the time, I didn't make you fucking tried to cut him.
Yeah.
I'm not kicking you out because you made a D. You tried to fucking put his guts on the ground.
Yeah.
You got to go.
Right.
I had a dude who, the best one was the fight with the nursing students, though. That was the best one.
And they were all girls. And there was like no guys over there.
Yeah.
So it was just hormones and female tension.
Yeah, when I grabbed the girl who's fighting and the other girl, like, I didn't even know there was somebody in the passenger seat. It was like she tagged out. So, like, she can't beat her ass, so the girl in the passenger seat jumped up and ran over and started whipping her ass. That was incredible.
And see, I don't care how old I would have been. I was like, I'm too old for this shit. And walked away. That could be like your get out of jail free card. Like, you see a fight, I'm too old for this shit.
Old.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing, probably the whitest thing about me is that I run to those things. Like, I don't know what it is about me. Anytime that there's like a commotion, even if I'm completely not invested, if I'm walking down a sidewalk and see something, like for some reason, like my instinct is to run to it and sort all the shit out and like stop it. It's one of the reasons why I've been sucker punched and shit like that.
Shit.
But I can't help it at times. Like it kind of is like overpowering. They talk about that fight or flight. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm like a moth to the flame. Like if I see the chaos, I got to get in there.
Yeah, see, I'm the type of person. I don't know the situation. I was at this bar once, and this guy slammed this girl. I was like, okay. And these other guys are always trying to be, save the woman or whatever. But she slapped him first, like was beating his ass. So he slammed her to get him off. But that's the thing is like, if I don't know what's going on, it's none of my business. Like there's this story I heard. It was like, yeah, this guy punched his girl or whatever, and I beat him up. Not knowing the girl stabbed his friend. He was over there bleeding. Like, imagine how he felt. Like, yeah, no, man. Let me help you up, man. Let's go beat her up together.
The first apartments I lived at up in Broken Arrow, I got cussed out by a woman because her and her old man were having a fight, and they lived across from us and up one. Mm-hmm. And they're fighting real bad, and he fucking locked her ass out on the balcony. And so I was like, hey, do you need me to call something or blah, blah, blah? She was like, why don't you mind your own fucking business? And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, well, now I see why you out there. Yeah, no shit. This lady have a potty mouth. That's hilarious. Oh, well, guys, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you've been through? What's anything in the future?
You guys run into any instructors or anything like that?
No.
I haven't heard any rumors. Every once in a while I'll see Facebook or something like that, but I was off of Facebook and all social media for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's like the day that I messaged you or that you messaged me, I had been on for 2 days in a year and a half.
Damn, about the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I'm, like, really out of the loop. Mm-hmm. It is funny, though, because, like, I don't know if you guys remember John. What's his name, John? I think his name is John. He was a young cat. He had a heart attack, like 19 years old. He's kind of a bigger guy.
Oh, he was in our class?
I mean, he was at the school when you guys, but it might have been one of those where he's finishing up as you guys are coming in. Well, he messaged me in January, and I think I might finally reply.
Yeah. Plot twist. He's dead. He had another heart attack.
I said, Jesus.
He had another heart attack.
No plot twist.
No, that's all the instructors, man. We've lost 3 instructors. Like, nobody that you guys know, but from my class, whenever I was there. We've had 3 people die since then. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's crazy.
Then you guys know the school doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Sad. How did you feel about
At
that?
all?
No, there's no such thing as Black College.
No
Oh,
nursing
damn,
program
the rest of
either.
Everything's gone too.
It's all gone. It's all Millimont now.
Huh.
Miller what?
Millimont.
And is that?
So there's some parts I can't talk about,
Oh. Okay.
but for the most part, this is a basic synopsis of what happened. Platt got big, bought a whole bunch of schools.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to keep a brand name that has 3 versus a brand name that has 15.
Mm.
So long story short, the Platt brand wasn't doing very good. And so they kind of rebranded everything. So now all it is medical. Like if you get over, I saw that writing coming on the wall from the day I took the job because of how, if you don't understand the food world. So if you're teaching a welding class, I can buy a pallet of welding rods and put that shit in a warehouse and distribute it out throughout the year.
Right.
Nothing expires. You know what you paid for everything. Everything's fine. In the culinary world, every Monday of the year lettuce can cost a different price. And when you're dealing with an entity that has so much to deal with, I used to tell people they had 29 campuses.
Right.
And they had I think the average number was 6. They had 6 programs at each campus. So you're looking at 180 programs. So our program in Tulsa, where we were, got 180th of the attention. You see what I mean? So It's just, they're so spread.
Mm-hmm.
And then having them not be able to understand the culinary world at all, about constantly ordering food, that I can't order a month's worth of lettuce.
Right.
I've got to order every week. Yeah. There's some things we can, some things we can't. There was a big time disconnect. They had brought in a bunch of people who were from the education world who education doesn't line up with culinary. Like it's hard to, like for your duration of you were at school, mm-hmm. The theory is they should know the exact penny that's going to be spent on you so that they can figure their profit or whatever they need to do.
Right.
You can't do that with culinary.
Right.
The day you started, what if lettuce is twice as expensive the last day? Or so there's constantly moving number. They couldn't stand that. Yeah. They couldn't stand it from the jump.
Well, shit. I mean, we see it with the lady who ran the burger and fish joint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's tough. Yeah, I miss it. Flat burgers are always the best burgers.
Oh yes.
Right. What were the fries that y'all use? Canapé?
Canapé potatoes.
It's the best fucking fries.
I've been looking for them. I can't find them.
Yeah, the potato punch. There's nothing like fresh fries and fresh oil. It's one of the best things in the world.
Like, I want it brand new because then it won't have that extra push to it. So I'm like, that let my anger out. The extra.
All right, before we finish though, I got a socks on or off. What's the deal?
Yeah. So, are you asking me the question or just how like?
I'm wondering how many psychos are fucking with their socks on.
See, different answers. I have to take my socks off because I think too much. Just when I start smoking weed, I think a lot. And if I'm having sex and my feet get sweaty, I'm like, shit, my feet are sweaty. And then I'm just out of the mood at all. So
I haven't been in a bed in socks since I'm like 7. Exactly. What are you talking about?
But some people, they want the grip. I was like, I have carpet. I don't know if that will work.
Well, I need to use all the advantages I can get. So
I feel you.
If I got to get some traction over here, I'll put some fucking shoes on.
Right. Let me pull out the Jordans. This is going to be number 8 wearing
I'm
this.
trying to pump up a Reebok.
Oh my God.
Shit locked in.
You don't want no Timberlands? You gotta get Timberlands on.
I heard Timberlands are very uncomfortable.
Are they?
Yeah.
They got grip.
Because niggas in New York just like them for some reason.
Oh, okay. That's what that is.
Yeah, somebody told me how hard it is to move drugs in the snow. And I was like, I do not.
I just learned, this is how old I am. I didn't realize that in most of the world, they be Ubering fucking weed and all kinds of shit everywhere. And they just like call the Uber and like, hey, we're going to pay you. Take this to this address and the dude will meet you.
The gangster.
Yeah. And so like that's the number one way, like in the big metros, that shit's getting moved around. I had no idea. Yeah, I'm old though.
See how much gas is?
First time somebody was talking about, they had a fucking thing they plugged into their phone to buy some weed. I'm like, are you fucking crazy? Are you FBI? What the fuck is going on? Who is this? I put the cash on the counter, motherfucker. And we put the weed on the counter. Right. We don't even touch hands.
That's hilarious.
You don't ever order your weed?
Well, I mean,
now.
No, it's weed mask, leafly.
I had a card since they came out.
I know. But I think don't they have apps where you can just put it in on the phone and they'll just bring it right over?
I'm
Yeah, I don't
not,
think you can get it delivered to you.
I'm not as serious as these motherfuckers are nowadays, though. It's funny though because I've seen how serious this generation is. Because the first time I went into a dispensary in Oklahoma, it's like 90% just weed.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like 4% just weed,
Mm-hmm.
and carts and dabs and wax and edibles and everything everywhere. So like it's a different thing, man.
Have you done any of that?
I've taken some edibles and stuff. I've hit a dab, but that's been, first of all, that's a funny story because I almost whipped this motherfucker's ass because I thought he was trying to get me smoke crack.
Yo. The THC crystals, I'm like, this is crack. Like when it melted, Bo, I was like, no, this is crack. This shit's crack.
Yeah, he broke out his little crazy whiteboard device that's fucking 17 glass tubes going in every fucking direction. And so I'm just thinking he's going to smoke a bowl. This is so long ago. My brother has been married and divorced, and this was at his reception.
Shit.
So that's how long ago it was. And I'm like, oh shit. And then he broke out this little bit of yellow looking rock looking thing, and I'm like, fuck all that.
yeah.
Fuck all that.
That's not what crack used to look like, but I'm not hip with the time.
So that's just too strong, man. I very rarely get like fucking ripped. I'm more like just catch a little buzz and then I'm just good. You know what I'm saying? And I just try to maintain that little buzz.
I was like, there's this guy who came into the dispensary. He was like 70 something years old. I'm like, dude, I think I'm deep in cotton. Like, now you smoking weed? Like, your lungs can't be that good. You worked in the mill, Great Depression. Like, come on now, sir. But I just feel like if you're 60 and above, you should get your week off for free because you deserve it. You've been through a lot. If you live to be 60, 70, you deserve it.
I still don't understand people that don't. Like, I worked with a dude not too long ago that had 2 weed tickets. Both of them were like $500. And he was a 19-year-old, and he had he had a mental situation where he could have easily went and applied and got whatever he wanted to. So I'm trying to explain to him, like, you're out $1,000 for something that you wouldn't have been out at all if you go pay your 150 or whatever money and get your fucking card.
We should imagine how many people are there for life.
I know.
And now it's legal. They just gave the girl basketball player 9 years.
I saw that.
That's smart as shit though,
Yeah.
because you can get whoever you want from like, let me get the terrorists back, and you can have this tall ass woman who makes thousands of dollars a year to dribble a basketball.
That shit is sad because it's a political thing.
Right.
You know, that's the part that's so fucked up. If there wasn't this whole Russia-Ukraine thing going on, I think it would be a completely different situation. I feel horrible for her. I mean, you can't, first of all, don't be fucking around in Russia. That's first of all. But
that's the scary thing. I will never go to another country and do anything. I'll just be like, yep, this is nice.
I smuggle weed into Mexico.
Really? You know how easy it is? It was easy.
It's just enough to get me through the honeymoon, man.
That doesn't even sound difficult.
Yeah.
Is that difficult?
Well, here's the thing. Airport is a loose fucking term when it comes to Mexico. Mm-hmm. I landed in a goddamn pasture, and they wheeled out a ladder, like, get the fuck off. And there's a strip mall that you have to go through. That's the airport, is a strip mall. Like, this thing couldn't have been 5,000 square feet. But the sketchy part is, we flew into a main airport, then switched to a little fucking puddle jumper plane, and flew into the middle of the jungle, and then all of a sudden it opens up, and that's where you fucking land in this field. I mean, I'm not even so sure the shit was pavement, if you want to know the truth. So they bring us down, and this is their customs, okay? So you're walking, and there's these 2 dudes with M16s or whatever, fully auto.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, and they're just chilling by a door, and it looks like some shit off of Sesame Street. There's a fucking stand-up
I never thought M16 in Sesame Street.
There's a light that looks like it's from Sesame Street that has red and green, and you press the button, and it's like, and whatever it stops on. If it's red, you go in the fucking room.
Oh, shit.
If it's green, you get to walk through.
And the people who got the red would never see them again.
Guess what my shit did?
Oh, no. Red?
Nothing. Press the thing, does the thing, it's still blank. The dude points the rifle at me and says, go.
Oh, shit.
And see, you can't say shit. I don't care. In America, you could have cussed him out.
I got weed in a bag. And I got a dude pointing at me with an M16 in a foreign country. Yeah, so smuggling that little bit, like I said, about a week's worth. Wasn't even a quarter, probably. Yeah, it's fucking stressful.
How did you end up on this plane? Is
was
my
a
question. You
honeymoon,
said it
right?
was for a
Oh,
honeymoon?
and it was right after 9/11.
Of course it
So
was.
yeah, so we flew in November after September 11th. So not even 2 months.
For the
after.
kids born after 2001, that was just a big historical event that happened.
Yeah, yeah. It's just the reason why you can't get on an airplane in less than an hour now was 9/11.
Did I say 2011? I meant 01.
Yeah, it's 01.
Shit.
21 years
That was
ago.
a brain fart.
9/11. Can buy alcohol sold.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, the weirdest thing when I went to Mexico, they were like, "Yeah, this is a church full of, or a van full of church people." They're like, "Okay, have fun." And I'm like, "Damn!" Like I could have just been anybody. But see, the thing is like being black because you can be Mexican. You have the accent. I feel like it's how they believe you. Are you American? Yes. I don't know, man. Yes is you can say you can say yes in any type of accent. So they made me do like a historical
Oh shit.
test. I failed because I was dumb as shit in history. Who was the first president? I'm like shit, George Washington Carver. They're like, you know what? You picked the black guy, so you just go over there. No Mexican know George Washington Carver. Oh yeah. Oh I loved your question you asked me on YouTube. Like, yeah, you were a lot more innocent. I was a lot more innocent back in the school, but then
Innocent's one word. I was trying to be nice.
yeah, I was a pansy. I was a very.
No, you were very naive.
I think that's what it was.
It wasn't just that it was that you knew what was out there and wanted to ignore it. It wasn't that you hadn't experienced it. It's
Right.
Like, nope, not dealing with it. Nope, not dealing with it. And so, yeah, I can tell just by, your attitude and your posturing that you're in a much better place now.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially having Elijah, that was a big thing. I had to figure out what kind of man I wanted to be, what kind of man I wanted to raise him to be. So that was a big thing. So I was really glad you asked that because I feel like the person you guys knew at that time was not really a person I'm proud of being.
It's hard to find yourself. You go through many different stages of it. It happens to everybody. Common downfalls, people wanting to do too much too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that there's some kind of a timeline where you have to hit these check marks to get to a certain thing, and then you always run the problem of comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah, and that was a big thing because I struggled with like anxiety and depression that whole time, and especially when I was a teenager. I just didn't know how to fix it, especially growing up in the hood. It was like, stop being sad. You got nothing to be sad for, type shit. So just having all that and, like you said, trying to get what I wanted out of life quickly, I feel like that was my downfall. So that's why I started smoking weed. Because after that, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about nothing at this point. Like, if I can change it, that's perfect. If I can't, there's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, that was my big life change. So I'm glad I went through it. I wish it was different. But it is what it is. That's fine. But gentlemen, that's really it for me. Thank you guys for coming. We should do this more often.
I had a blast.
Anything else you guys want to encouragement to people who may want to go into culinary, or just anything? Don't get arrested. Work with people who do cocaine, obviously.
I would just say set obtainable goals, and don't jump into a situation for your own ego.
Mhm.
Do it for everything else. I've lost a lot of cooks because they got an opportunity to be a chef that didn't even last 3 weeks. You gotta just know what you're doing and be confident. Sometimes $2 an hour less, but all the problems might be worth it as opposed to jumping into something that you have no idea what the problems are.
Right. Especially that one chef who worked at Boulder Grill. He was at Flat at one time. He thought he was just the highest of the highest. I remember he telling me he interviewed somebody. He was like, "Yeah, you probably saw me on the wall at Flat," and I was like, "No, you're not up there, not at all." He was just so better. I remember, dude, he over ordered, and I couldn't even walk him to walk in. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think he knows what he's doing." So it's really good, like you said, to know. The title may sound good, but once you get hit with that leadership, that paperwork, the scheduling, the menu if need be, yeah, this shit's pretty tough. So
Yeah.
I like that.
That's how I knew I didn't want to be management.
Right.
No, it ain't.
The last thing I would like to say is that also you can fail at things that you love too,
Mm-hmm.
and you can fail at things that you don't love. So try to find the lane that makes you happy.
Right.
You know, no matter what that is. Which is why I'm going to talk to you about trying to get you up on open mic sometime.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did some open mic at the beginning of this year,
Yeah, I
but
remember.
podcast was just easier.
How'd the open mic work out?
It was good, man.
Where'd you go? First shop, some of those places?
So I went. My first open mic was at Reds downtown. I told her that I was going to do it. I told a lot of people, so I had a oh my goodness, what is the word I'm looking for? Like people expected me to go, so I'm not going to say, oh, I didn't go. They're like, damn, why didn't you go? But I hyped myself up driving there. I was like, man, it's going to be scary, but what you're doing is going to be the best shit you ever done. And how I got started with comedy is, I always thought it was funny. I was really good at talking to people, and I just thought it was something I could do. So I did a little comedy class, and COVID hit, and I think we were down. No, was it? I think it was down a car or some shit, and I just wasn't able to go. But I decided to pick it up, and yeah, I did like probably 3 open mics, but just podcast was a lot easier as a more one-on-one.
Yeah.
I don't have to really think of jokes.
Did you get any laughs?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's got a couple videos. You still got them on Facebook?
I think so. This has been a while. I told this one joke. My comedy teacher, Roy Johnson, he was a real big comedian back in the day, but he had to explain to me what the Soul Train was. I was like, yeah, man, you don't know how bad it is having a black guy telling you what the Soul Train was. I felt so white. I went to the nearest black guy and apologized for slavery. So it was some good jokes. Come on, they're funny, man.
I'm a little dark.
How white that made you feel.
My ancestors felt that.
Yeah, he was like, dude, you should take your black card. I was like, shit, give me that white privilege card. You can take my black card. I give $0 at this point. But yeah, man, yeah, that'll be great. Just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get it worked out.
Now that I'm back on Facebook and be able to, I'm able to be found, you can get me up.
Yeah, I was
Are
very
you gonna do them
surprised.
too?
Yeah.
You gonna get up there?
Well, I promised myself when I was 18 that I'd do one before I died. So.
Dude,
Okay.
it's different.
Okay.
And it's not even like different bad. People are there to be entertained. So even if it's not as funny as probably Kevin Hart or whoever, they're gonna laugh. They're gonna make you feel good. But I've seen some people bomb like bad.
That would be me.
I'm like, shit, just stop, throw in the towel.
That would be me.
Man,
it makes
because like if
uncomfortable.
once you don't get a joke, then you try to be funny, and now you're just talking instead of like telling the story or getting the joke. Yeah.
I almost want to do it too, just because I can't imagine how high the anxiety for the 5 minutes before you go up is. I like to check that out.
Something's wrong with you.
Nah.
I know I'll be shitting myself.
That makes me uncomfortable. Just thinking about it.
It's nice. There's sometimes I went signed up for the open mic and wrote jokes while I was there and forgot the joke. I was like, yeah, blah blah blah. I was like, all right, have a good one. Like, wait, there's nothing else I can do. All right, y'all. They're like, damn, this open mic's going quickly. Like, shit, I don't know what to tell you.
So what, do they give you like time slot?
Yeah,
like
you
got
have
10
like
minutes
5,
or something?
yeah.
Okay.
3-5 minutes type shit. But
you have enough material for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but I didn't notice when I was writing the joke. So when I was in comedy class, it's like topic, premise, setup, punchline type shit. But I didn't know when you write a joke, it may be a full page, but when you're talking or doing the joke, that shit's over in 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, an hour, 30 minutes, like, I really commend those people because I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I watch Kevin Hart and I'm like, okay, you go into the joke a little deeper. You laugh with it, so you kind of waste a little time. It's strategic, but as a newbie, having that type of material for that long is really hard.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I never thought about it like that because I wouldn't be able to do it then because I don't know how to sit down and just write.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's sometimes I was like, man, this joke's funny as shit, and then the next day I'm like, why did I write this shit? So yeah, man, I would love to do it. Again, we should hang out a lot more. That's about it.
Oh, we should do it. You find something. I'm gonna come watch y'all.
Okay.
I might get up there. I gotta have a couple drinks.
I doubt I'll let anybody know the first time I go up.
Why?
I probably won't even let my girlfriend go.
You have to.
I went by myself. My
did
first
you?
time, yeah. I went by myself. Because I didn't need nobody saying, if you don't want to go, it's fine. We can just watch. Or I'm looking at them and not really absorbing the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first time, just like sex, you have to experience it.
No, I gotta make eye contact with somebody.
See, so
I,
I,
I gotta look at somebody. I gotta be able to look out the crowd and see someone and just know that I'm comfortable because I don't know. Like,
See, that would make me more uncomfortable.
yeah,
No.
because to me, I'm like, damn, are they for real enjoying this? Am I doing a good job?
that
Did
don't
she
matter
feel
to me.
it?
No, that don't
You know
matter.
what
I
I'm
just
saying?
need somebody to look at. I don't care if you ain't
You just
even
like-
yeah. If you ain't even laughing, I'm just looking. We just talking there. That's
right?
it.
No, I feel you. That's exciting.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anything else?
Anything else? No.
All right. Well, again, thank you guys for coming on. Yeah, I really don't have like an exit type thing, so we can just be done. I do try to give like a word of encouragement. Everyone, from us to you guys, may your pain be champagne.